Alright, hello everyone and welcome back down to another episode of the Chord Clinic. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of Taylor Swift's songs called You'll Belong With Me, and it's going to sound like this. Alright guys, so let's get started with some of the chords that we're going to be using in this song. Now, I'm going to be going through the chords relatively quickly. However, if you do feel like you need a bit more time or a bit more practice with some of the basic chord shapes, there is another video on my channel which I'll link down below. Feel free to have a look at that. It'll go through all the basic chords that we use throughout the entire course of tutorials that I do. And feel free to go through that and just get a bit more familiar with the chords if you need that extra practice. But starting with this song, the first thing that we have is a capo on the 4th fret. It's not mandatory, but if you want to be in the original key of the song, we do need to put the capo there. Now, for the purpose of this, we're going to be working in the key of D. So our first chord is going to be a D chord. D chord you can either play like this, or we can use one finger, bridge all three of the highest strings, and then your middle finger comes and plays that 3rd fret. So either of those two methods of playing your D chord is absolutely fine. Whatever works best for you, that's good. The next chord we use is an A chord. So the A chord looks like this. I use all 3 fingers when I play the A chord. However, similar to the D chord, if you just want to use one finger, you can do that as well. The next chord we use is an E minor chord. So the E minor chord sounds like this. And then finally a G chord. So it's probably worth just getting the hang of transitioning between those different chords. So starting with your D, maybe take it nice and slow into an A, E minor, and G. And again, D, A, E minor, and G. So those 4 chords are going to be repeated throughout the entire song in various orders, so it is worth just spending a bit of time. Make sure you're comfortable with all of the chords, make sure you're comfortable switching between them as well, and then we'll get into the next part of the song. Alright guys, so let's start by having a look at that intro guitar riff. It's going to sound like this. Now it is quite a straightforward riff to play. However, if you are quite new to guitar and you just want to be looking at the chords, feel free just to go straight to that part of the video. It's not mandatory to learn this riff and it won't impact how you can play the song. If you do want to jump straight to a certain section of the song, I'll put some links in the description. Just go down and click and you can go to the chorus, you can go to the verse, have a look at whichever section of the song you want. But don't feel like you need to learn this riff, and certainly don't be put off if you can't get the hang of it straight away. Okay guys, so let's crack on with learning this riff. Now to be able to play it, we're going to be using the 4th fret of the D string, and it's actually the 8th fret, but with the capo being on the 4th fret, I'll call it the 4th fret for the purpose of the video. We're going to use our ring finger to grab that 4th fret of the D string, so that's that note there. Then our index finger is going to come in and play the 2nd fret of our G string. So they're the 2 notes that we need, 4th fret of the D, 2nd fret of the G. So the first half of this riff is just going to jump between those 2 notes, and it's going to sound like this. So it's worth just getting a bit of practice, make sure you're comfortable with that first half of the riff. Now we'll move on to the second half of the riff now. So the second half of the riff, that ring finger is going to slide up 1 fret to your 5th fret of the D string. Your middle finger is going to come in and cover the 4th fret, which is where your ring finger just was, so that's those 2 notes there. and your index finger is going to come and that's going to play the 2nd fret of the D string. So it was on the 2nd fret of the G, it's going to move up 1 string and I'll play the 2nd fret of the D. So those are the only 3 notes we need for the second half of this riff. And it starts just by bouncing between your 5th and your 4th fret. Then it goes to your 2nd fret and then just an open string. So slow it down, that second part's going to sound like this. So have a go practicing the first section, have a go practicing the second section. Once you're comfortable with both of them, you should be able to glue them both together. I'll show you what it's like together, nice and slow. And again. And then one last time. And then you're straight into your verse from there. So gluing it all into the verse. That's your intro riff sorted. Alright guys, so now that we're comfortable with the chords, let's have a look at the verse. Now the verse of this song is going to be using the same 4 chords that we just learned. It's going to be going from a D, to an A, to an E minor, to a G. What I like to do when I do it, similar to quite a few other Taylor Swift songs, when I'm playing the verse, I like to use palm muting, just to try and build a bit of texture and make a big definition in terms of the dynamics of the song from the verse going into the chorus where we have a bit more of a build up. So to accomplish that, I'm using the palm of my hand and I'm pressing it up against the strings and then I'm just lightly letting go to let the notes ring out. So when I'm fully muting it, it's going to sound like this. So we're just getting a bit of practice doing that, and then what you'll see is as you gradually lift off, you'll start getting a bit of sound coming through. Now if we put our D chord down with the palm muting, we get something that sounds like that. So open or palm muted. If you're not comfortable with the palm muting, that's absolutely fine. You can play it fully open as well, but it's just a nice technique I used to use to try and build the difference. So D chord into our A chord, E minor and G, and that'll cover you. And G. Alright guys, so now that we've got the verse down, let's take a look at the pre-chorus. Now the pre-chorus is going to use the same chord progression that we used in the verse. However, we're going to be starting on the E minor chord rather than starting on the D chord like we were earlier. So it's going to sound like this. E minor, G, D, and then A. Now there is a slight variation for the second run through of the chord progression, where it's going to go E minor, G, but rather than going to a D, we're just going to play a single strum of the A chord, and that's going to set us up for going into our chorus quite nicely. So when we put that into context, it's going to be E minor, G, D, A, E minor, G, and then A. Now, just to clarify where that is, that's she wears short skirts, I wear sneakers, and that's how you kind of glue it all together. G, and then A. And that's all there is to the pre-chorus. The only thing I would add here is when we're trying to build up for the chorus, I know when we were looking at the verse, we talked about palm muting. I wouldn't do any palm muting when it comes to the pre-chorus. I would just open it up to your full chords and just play them all out fully. and then that's all there is. Okay guys, so let's take a look at the chorus now. Now thankfully the chorus is going to be using the same chord progression that we were using in the verse, so there's nothing new to learn here. The only real difference I would do when you're playing it is similar to what we're doing in the pre-chorus. No palm muting, just play all of the chords nice and open. So we'll start with the D. We'll then go into an A. After the A, into an E minor. And after the E minor, into the G. So yeah, it's going to sound like this. That E minor, G, you belong with me, and D, why can't you see, you belong with me. If you want as well, before you go into your second verse, or whenever you decide to finish that chorus, after that G, you can go down into an A. Similar to how we did with the pre-chorus, just finishing on that A sets us up quite nicely for going into our verse or the bridge or whatever's coming next. So what that would sound like would be D, A, E minor, you belong with me, and then you're back in your chorus. Okay guys, so we'll take a look at the bridge section now. So the way the song's structured is we'll have our second chorus. The second chorus then goes into a guitar solo. For the guitar solo, if you just continue playing the normal chords that we're using in the chorus, that'll sound absolutely fine. Once you get past that, we go into our bridge section. Now our bridge section sounds exactly the same as our pre-chorus, whereby we're doing our E minor, into the G, into the D, and then into the A. So there's nothing new to learn with the bridge, but just if you give it a go with the original track, try playing it through, you'll see exactly what I mean when it comes to it. After that bridge section, it does go into like a build-up chorus, a mini chorus kind of bit. That's absolutely fine. The chords for that are the same as what we're using in the chorus section. The only thing I'd recommend is if you're doing the build-up chorus, similar to how we were doing in the verses, maybe try and include a bit of palm muting just to help build that contrast and a bit of tension there. So, into A, E minor, and then G. And then it'll go into the full chorus after that. Okay, so now that we've got all parts of the song down, let's try putting them all together. I'll play through the whole song quite slowly and feel free to try and play along. A, E minor, G, E minor, G, D, A, E minor, G, single strum A, and into the chorus of the D. A, E minor, and G, A, and that's the whole song. Okay guys, so thank you very much for coming along and watching today's video. I hope it helped you get the hang of the song and I hope that you've enjoyed yourself when you've been learning it as well. If you did enjoy the content, please feel free to have a look at my channel. There's everything on there from how to set up the guitar, for tuning it, some basic chord shapes, loads of other great songs for beginners. So please have a look at that. If you do find there's anything useful there, feel free to subscribe. Keep up to date with what's coming out. Thank you.